When it comes to food, there are so many different options. There are dishes that you can get from fast food places, or recipes that you can make at home. But what if we took things to the next level and went around the world to try some of the worst foods out there? I have a very sensitive stomach, but I didn't let that stop me from trying any of these 10 awful foods. Some were surprisingly good, while others left me in agony. Either way, here is my honest review. First up was casu marzu, which is also known as maggot cheese. It's a Sardinian sheep milk cheese that includes live insect larvae. Apparently, this dish originated by accident when cheesemakers stored their cheese in a cave full of flies. It was then that they realized that including fly larvae made the cheese taste even better. Today, it's illegal to sell this cheese outside of Sardinia, but you can still find it at markets. I tried this with some bread, and it did have a strong smell and taste, but not in a bad way. I could definitely see why people would love it. However, I couldn't eat more than one bite because of all of those squirming insects. The next food that I tried was balut, which is also known as a fertilized duck egg. This Filipino dish has a long history. It first started being eaten over 400 years ago, and it was popular among poor farmers. Today, it's considered to be a delicacy. I got mine boiled and served with soy sauce. Once I cut into the egg, I saw the fully formed duck inside. Even though it looked strange, it had an incredible taste. The meat reminded me of chicken, and the bone marrow added richness to the flavor. To be honest, it tasted much better than I expected. Moving on, we have guinea pig, which is a common dish in the Andes region. These little guys can be eaten roasted, fried, grilled, and even as a stew. Apparently, guinea pigs were domesticated 8,000 years before potatoes were farmed. In Peru, they're often raised for their meat. They're said to have a sweet and porky flavor with a hint of rabbit. My guinea pig was fried, and it had a crispy skin and tender meat. Honestly, it did kind of taste like pork. The dish was also great because it included rice, potatoes, and vegetables. Overall, I think that this is a pretty cool dish. Next up is surströmming, which is fermented Baltic herring. This Swedish dish is often served during the summer. It has a very pungent odor, and that's because the fish is fermented with its own juices and salt. And then it's aged for several months. In fact, the longer it's aged, the stronger the smell. Surströmming has a soft texture and a creamy consistency. I found that it wasn't really salty or fishy. Instead, it had a buttery taste. Many people describe it as tasting like a strong blue cheese with some pharmaceutical notes. To be honest, I thought it was delicious. After this, I tried shrimp, which is also known as shrimp. Apparently, it gets its name from the Arabic word for a shrimp that has seen better days. This Moroccan dish is made from dried, salted, and spiced fish. It typically consists of a fish head and chunks of fish meat. Before serving it, it's soaked in a vinegar and mint mixture. This helps to remove some of the saltiness and give it a fresh taste. I found that the vinegar did a great job of balancing out the flavors. Shrimp was actually quite delicious. It had a spicy kick and the head was super crunchy. Next up was hakar, which is Greenland shark. If you ever visit Iceland, then you may get the chance to try this. The dish has a long history in Iceland. It dates back 1,500 years when Vikings would eat it. Today, it's a modern-day delicacy. This dish is made by taking shark meat, burying it in the ground, and leaving it for 6 to 8 weeks. The meat is then dried out and left to ferment for another 3 to 4 months. You can probably guess that the smell isn't very pleasant, but that just means that it's working. The idea behind this dish was to preserve the meat, and I have to say that it worked very well. Heiko's is actually safe to eat today. It has a chewy and sandy texture and a strong ammonia taste. I found that the meat had some medicinal qualities, but overall it wasn't too bad. Moving along, we have smalahov, which is a traditional Norwegian dish. The dish features a smoked and dried sheep's head. The process of making this dish is very labor intensive. First, the sheep's head needs to be removed, then it must be cleaned and scraped. After that, it gets boiled for several hours. Next, it's dried out and ready to be served. Smalahov is often served with mashed potatoes, butter, and a sauce that's made from the cooking liquid. When I ate this dish, it did have a strong and gamey flavor. However, it was also quite dry and crunchy. Personally, I didn't enjoy this one. But that leads us to casu marzu, which is a Sardinian sheep milk cheese that includes live insect larvae. Apparently, this dish originated by accident when cheesemakers stored their cheese in a cave full of flies. It was then that they realized that including fly larvae made the cheese taste even better. Today, it's illegal to sell this cheese outside of Sardinia, but you can still find it in markets. I tried this with some bread, and it did have a strong smell and taste, but not in a bad way. I could definitely see why people would love it. However, I couldn't eat more than one bite because of all of those squirming insects. Moving on, we have fugu, which is Japanese for pufferfish. This dish is a Japanese delicacy that requires special training to prepare. Only highly skilled chefs are allowed to serve it. That's because the pufferfish has a poison that's deadly to humans. If it's prepared incorrectly, then the poison will remain in the fish. This can cause numbness, paralysis, and even death. In Japan, the chef must pass a rigorous exam to be able to prepare this dish. In fact, there's a 20% fatality rate for those who try to serve it. When I ate fugu, it had a nice taste and texture. I love the slices of pickled ginger that accompanied it. Overall, I was happy to have tried this unique and dangerous dish. Finally, we have kima, which is grilled monkey. In some parts of Africa, monkeys are considered a delicacy. In Cameroon, they are often barbecued and served with a peanut sauce. Apparently, monkeys have a musky and wild boar-like flavor. I thought that the meat was quite tender, but it did have a strange taste. I don't know if it was worth the trouble, but I'm glad that I experienced it. As you can see, some of these dishes were absolutely amazing, while others weren't exactly my cup of tea. But that's the fun thing about trying new foods. You never know what you might end up liking. Out of all of these foods, which one would you try? And which ones would you stay far away from? Let me know in the comments below. But before you go, I want to make something clear. This video was only meant to be informational and entertaining. I do not recommend that you go out and try these foods right away. It takes a lot of research to track down some of these dishes. You should always do your own research and use your own best judgment. Trying new foods can be scary, and that's totally understandable. I'm always doing more research and learning about different cuisines from around the world, so maybe someday I'll try some of these other dishes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a blessed day. And as always, eat well and be well.